You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Guys, thanks so much for joining in. We have a really special guest on the phone, and that is none other than Lenny Mangnall with Exmark. So Lenny is one of the product managers for those guys. Lenny, good afternoon. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Oh man, things are great. We're getting some rain around here. We've gotten pretty dry, but things are looking up. People are getting back out, and looking forward to finishing this year strong.
Amen to that, brother. Well, we've been getting crazy amounts of rain last week, like 4 inches of rain in 4 days, and then apparently we went from monsoon season to summer because it's 92 degrees today, and so we are literally just beating sweat with like 90-degree temperatures, like 85-100% humidity. It has been brutal, and so the only thing that two things that haven't failed me this week is my guy Rob and my Exmark Lazer Z. So thank God. Those two things are great. By the way, our air conditioner is broke at right now as I speak, and so I'm in my garage, which is about 70 degrees, but my house right now is about 87 degrees, and so it's been a crazy couple days. So. All right. Well. Hey, the reason to have you on the show is Exmark is a sponsor of the show. Exmark is a partner with me on YouTube, and guys, I've been running Exmark equipment for almost 15 years, which is just crazy. I thoroughly bleed red. I love my Exmark units. I'm a little biased. I think they're just great quality products. And so, having this conversation with Exmark, they said, hey, is there a chance to get some of our folks on the show? Because, man, there's some really talented people that work at Exmark. And I said, yeah, 100%. I'd love to hear what, some of the geniuses behind some of the product lines. And so I can't wait to get those guys on. But instead, we get Lenny. You know what I'm saying, Lenny? No. I'm just totally kidding, bro. I'm just totally kidding. That's funny right there. Got to keep everybody humble, right, Lenny? So,
absolutely.
You're like curveball. No, Lenny. And the only reason I say that is because Lenny and I have literally been cutting up the last 20 minutes before we hit record. So I feel like I'm pretty good buds with Lenny now. So, but Lenny, let's do this before we jump into it. Why don't you give your stats and your background, man? Because you are. For real, you are one of the smart people that are just rocking and rolling at Exmark. You are responsible for a lot of different products there. And so in all seriousness, it is really cool to have somebody of your caliber on the show. And so what's your story, man? How did you get started with Exmark, and what do you currently do for these guys?
Sure. Well, so, I got out of high school and went into the Army for a few years. Wasn't sure, what I wanted to do. Came back, was going to school. And the direction I went down, it was actually engineering, and wasn't really loving it, wasn't digging it too much. So was taking some time off, and then when I went back, I actually scored a second shift job welding here at Exmark.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
I was such a good welder that they promoted me to the engineering lab. So if that tells you anything about my welding skills. So,
very precise.
So, I spent some time in the engineering lab, and then moved over to tech service. And man, I was in tech service, I think maybe 16, 17 plus years, something like that.
Okay.
And an opportunity came up to move over as a product manager, and this is the coolest job to have here. You're kind of at the forefront of everything, and I get to spend just a ton of time out with our dealers and distributors, and most importantly customers, and listen to these guys and what they're trying to do and what they need. So it's just it's been a pretty awesome ride. I think I'm working on 23 years here.
Wow. And
I couldn't imagine working anywhere else, brother.
Dude, that is so cool. Well, and I'll tell you guys what, Lenny and I have history, and Lenny didn't know this until I was talking to him about 20 minutes ago, but I have seen all of the YouTube videos and the tutorial videos and the maintenance and the how-to videos. This was 2009 or 10 we were talking, Lenny. And so when Emily suggested you to be on the show, I said, I know exactly who you're talking about. I mean, like stalker, weirdo, creepy. I'm like, I know know this guy. I know everything about this guy. Like I was on this bio at the website. I know this guy, and it's just crazy because full circle 10 years later, you're a guest on my show, which is just the weirdest thing on all of planet Earth. But so any which way, well, let's do this. We're going to talk about the Tractus tires. We're going to talk about the 21-inch Exmark commercial mower, the 30-inch push mower, and the Exmark Lazer Z. I mean, you've been there through it all for the most part. And so those are some of the products that you're responsible for. And frankly, the Lazer Z and the commercial 30s, extremely popular. And then also the Tractus tires, a brand new offering to Exmark and to, contractors this year. And so let's do this. Before we jump on the, down the rabbit hole, we start breaking down everything. Let's hear from our show sponsors, which is Ballard Inc., and we'll get right back into it.
Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on ballard-inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right. Well, cool deal. Hey, really appreciate Ballard Inc. sponsoring the show. A lot of you guys have been using the Brian's 10 code to, save 10% on all of your equipment upgrades and purchases. And frankly, a lot of great products that go on the Exmark units. And so thank you to Corey Ballard and Ballard Inc. for sponsoring this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. All right. So Lenny, let's go down, just some history of you working at Exmark. And frankly, one question that I have is, how do you guys come up with these products? Like if you're a product manager, right? And so you're part of an engineering team. We know Lloyd, you get to see Lloyd at the GIE Expo. And, one question I have for you is, does the engineering team, come up with these cool products and then give it to marketing? Because I talk a lot to marketing, Emily and Jonathan. Do they just sell these products for you guys? Or does marketing say, hey, we need a stand-on mower, we need a stand-on blower, and then you guys are like the mad scientists behind the scenes creating all these products? Like, can you illuminate a little bit on that? Like, how does this all work internally for you guys at Exmark?
Yeah, it's just a team thing. I mean, seriously, and that team is not only the people that are within the walls here at Exmark, if you will, but it's like our channel partners, our distributors, our dealers, and honestly, most importantly, it's our end users. It's the guys that are in the field every day. And where it all kind of starts is we'll see, hey, here's a market segment, we want to take a look at. And so we go out and we find these guys and work through our distributors and dealers to find guys and go out and talk to them and say, what do you need and what are you using now? What's the shortcomings? What works really well? And basically we take that mold of clay back to the engineering, and we say, hey, look, whatever you're going to build, this is what it's got to do.
Okay.
It's got to be, it can only be so long so it fits, it nests in trailers and this and that and everything. And then engineering builds something, and we put together a prototype, and then we go back out into the field and, we get in front of guys, we do it, we call it VOC, voice of customer.
Okay.
And so, like, my whole process with that is, we'll pull up with a truck and trailer with this piece of equipment on it. Even before I pull it off the trailer, I just kind of stand back and I listen to the guys, what they're, saying, because it's that, hey, to steal from your podcast, it's that unfiltered comment, that really directs you where you want to be. And so, we explain the machine enough so they can operate it. We go out and let them operate it, get feedback, and then we kind of go deep into the machine and say, hey, here's the guts of this thing.
Wow.
And then, we take that feedback that we get and we come back and, we'll do, a second run at this thing a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And then at that second run, we're getting narrowed in pretty close. And then that's where we'll put several machines out in the field. We have guys that will field test the unit, anywhere from, when we redid the Lazer Z in '09, I think we had units on field test over 2 years before we brought it to production.
Oh, sure. Wow.
And, we're constantly getting their feedback. They actually have they're called data loggers. And so it tells us everything that the machine is doing, hours, fuel usage, temperatures, all this stuff. And then, we use that for, hey, here's the health of the machine, how it's working or whatever. And then also just the feedback from those operators. And, we finally mold that into something that, man, we hope we can sell.
That is so cool. Like I've always wondered how the engineering comes together. Like, man, I'm a big manufacturing guy. Like, I'm in Metro Detroit, Michigan. I've worked in little factories, and I've seen firsthand how manufacturing work and automotive stuff works, and been on many plant tours, and it's really, really cool. And so anytime I get, we have a friend, Nick Carlson. He runs a business called Mulchmate, and I'm always talking to like him about how do you guys manufacture this stuff. He's like, dude, he goes, I knew nothing 3 years ago about CAD and design, and I just think it's really fascinating stuff. Do you guys get all that feedback that you're talking about? Do you get it just from the contractors, or does like the engineering team, scour like YouTube videos and like Facebook comments? Like, do you ever find yourself like lurking as like a product manager? Like, what are the people really saying? I mean, you can't really get more grassroots and like the voice of the customer than, some guy at, 10 o'clock at night posting on Facebook. So how does that all work for you guys?
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. So that's where it's just any avenue we can get feedback.
Okay.
Absolutely. I go out and I look, on, Exmark's Facebook postings and Instagram and all of that, or, there's different forums that you can get out and look at and stuff. But yeah, we absolutely write that down. And then even on top of that, that's like where our service team, we got people that monitor that stuff or whatever. So that way some guys having problems or whatever, we can try to reach out, touch them guys and help them out, So
yeah.
It's, as far as how we gather it, it's by any means necessary or any means available, if you will.
That's super cool, man. Well, it's always reassuring, and folks know what I'm going to say next, that it's always reassuring when a company listens to like the end user and the contractor and like what we need, because many a time, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've got a great video out there that I've done with Stanley Dirt Monkey with a different brand, and we really put it through the ringer. And 250,000 views later in a week, I'll give you the voice of the customer. Doing social media, like, I love when my the viewers and the fans, I call them, Lenny, when they weigh in, I'm making a video on a new product, but I'm always like, hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What would you like to see? What do you don't like? And, dude, honestly, we'll get 200, 300, 500 comments, 1,000 comments. And I mean, it's like market research. Like I hope somebody at these mothership, companies are like paying attention, because, that's kind of one of my like selfish roles with my YouTube channel is to like make content that these people that are, cutting grass all day can weigh in on. And maybe, just maybe, some guy in Nebraska, happens to read, these 300 comments and like, ooh, like we missed the mark, or ooh, we need to address that, And so, it's called feedback. And I think it's really cool that you guys are listening to the customer that intuitively, it speaks volumes. And frankly, I feel that's why you guys have been making some really, really well-received product, Hey, one question I have for you, and we get this a lot, is Toro and Exmark and Toro. Somebody might be listening to the podcast right now and they go, well, I got a Toro. It's just like an Exmark, and an Exmark, it's just like a Toro. And, so how does that relationship work with Toro? Are you guys, does all the product come right off the same assembly line, or are you guys your own freestanding, identity and brand, or how does that work? Do you have any input for people that are always wondering that question?
Oh yeah, that is, Brian. You hit it. It's a question that always comes up. And what's so funny is, you'll hear so many times, well, yeah, didn't Toro just buy Exmark? Well, actually, it happened back in '98, and
sure.
I remember I joined just shortly after that happened.
Okay.
And but even then, you go, well, Exmark will be Toro, here in a couple of years or whatever. But Toro bought us for a reason, and it's because our brand is so strong, especially with the landscape contractor, that they've pretty much said, "Hey, look, until you screw this thing up, you guys go your own direction," right? So there are a lot of things that we share. We do build some of our equipment in our facility that's here, of their equipment in our facility here that's in Beatrice, and likewise, there's some of our equipment that's built in other facilities that are more pronounced or more Toro facilities, if you will. So, but yeah, I mean, we collaborate a little bit, but one of the things that we try to work is we try to keep differentiation. It's not always easy. We don't always meet eye to eye, but it's a good relationship. It's nice to have a corporation. I don't know what we are, approaching 3 billion or something like that. Corporation to have the resources that they carry behind them. So, it's a great relationship. Like I said, I absolutely love that name Twice a Month. So it works well.
Well, they just sent us a Toro Titan, which is a really, man, I'm telling you what, the video will drop to a day or two ago by the time you guys are listening to this. So head on over to YouTube. By the way, we have a YouTube channel. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but we have a pretty decent sized YouTube channel. By the way, we're trying to get to 100,000 subs, guys. We're at like 95,000. So if everybody that's listening would just go over there and hit subscribe if you're not already, we appreciate that. But great mower, it's solid. And I was asking one of their product managers the exact same thing. I said, "Hey, what's the difference between Toro and Exmark?" And he kind of echoed the same thing you did. He goes, "Honestly, like we share a lot of ins and outs, some of the engineering, but he goes, we let Exmark do their thing." He goes, we definitely differentiate product. He goes, "Man, that ultra cut," is what he said. He goes, you can't mess with that ultra cut. And so he was like really talking you guys up. And I said, well, good, because I got an interview with one of their product managers in about 2 days. And he goes, "Oh, even better." So, but he didn't know that. So, very, very cool. Well, and here's one of the cool things too, is that when just to play off of what you just said with Toro is letting you guys do your thing, because you guys are doing your thing really, really well. And a lot of that credibility comes from the Exmark Lazer Z. And so this was actually really cool. Lenny, you don't know the story. I don't think I've really shared it yet. But about a year and a half ago, I was hanging with Stanley Dirt Monkey and Ed Wright of Wright Lawnmowers. And so I had about an hour ride with Ed and Stan from the airport. And I said, "Hey, Ed, they made the stand-on mower. I mean, they make a great unit for sure." And so I said, "Ed, what's the history of all these lawnmowers, dude? Why do we have 14, 15 brands?" I said, "Why is the Exmark Lazer Z the most coveted mower?" And he tipped his hat. He goes, "That's a solid mower." And so it was really cool because he gave us the whole lineage of all these companies, all the mowers, what hit the market and when. And he goes, the Exmark Lazer Z, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. What was it, early 90s, maybe 93, 94?
Midnight, 95 is the 95? Official date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did the Exmark Lazer Z do that quote unquote changed the game? Because I still see these things out all day long, like 2002 lawnmowers, 2005, the double saddlebag gas tanks, and I mean, other than a new seat and, fresh blades, I mean, I guarantee you some of these units have 4,000, 5,000, 7,000 hours on them, And so what were people using before? And then what did the Lazer Z do to change the game? I just, for somebody like me that doesn't have this whole perspective, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, a couple of things really set that machine apart and just, absolutely blew it up. Before you had a lot of the zero turns at that time. They were tall, very, very unstable on side hills and stuff like that. Small tires, the decks weren't really refined yet or anything like that.
Okay.
So when the Lazer came out, and it had at the time, these big 23-inch, drive tires, and just the ground speed of it, the high blade tip speed, what you just mentioned, the ultra cut deck, back then it was still we called it was the Tri-Vantage deck.
Yep.
But I mean, it used to be like, the big thing was, I mean, the old, prior to that, it was like a frame with a bucket on top of it, and you sat there and you drove this thing. And,
Sure.
And it you know, it was like with the how we did the hydros, to where we only needed, you know, that 1 quart reservoir. You know, a lot of them back then, they had, you know, 3-4 gallon reservoir, you know, that they ran hydraulic fluid through and stuff like that. But it was just the efficiency and really the simplicity of the machine. You know, it's weird to say it now, but, you know, that machine, I think, had 13 grease zerks on it, you know, that you had to hit periodically.
Sure.
But that was such an improvement over what everybody else had, that was like, well, that's like doing nothing, you know? And so, you know, and now today, you look, the Lazer today, we say it has 4 grease points. It's actually 2. You hit, you know, the transmission drive and the deck drive idler once a year. And that's what you do as far as lubricating the machine. So it really changed things. We had, you know, you talk about the history. So, you know, here in Beatrice was kind of, at one time, was the lawnmower mecca of the United States. We had, you know, the companies that we've had here, we had Keys, and then, you know, Keys became Yazoo Keys, and then Husqvarna bought them, and you had Encore, and you had World. I still have World Lawn here yet today, and, you know, of course, Exmark, and, you know, they all kind of, you know, I mean, Exmark was started by people that were at Keys, you know, and so, you know, they'd spun off and done their own thing, and Encore was started by a great gentleman in the industry, Dick Tegmeyer, that he spun off, and he started from Exmark and started Encore. So
wow.
It's crazy. And, you know, like you said earlier, hey, I think I know Lenny. I've seen his videos. This industry is so small, you know, and so tight knit. And that's what makes it fun. You know, like you said, talking with, you know, Ed Wright and those guys. And again, you know, we're fierce competitors in the field, but, you know, the Wright guys, the Hustler guys, the Skag guys, the Toro guys, obviously, all of those, Gravely, you know, you name it. I mean, they're all great people.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
I mean, a lot of them unfortunately sell the wrong color, you know, but no, but I mean, it's so much fun. And that's, you know, you get to GIE or you get to places, and like when I used to do service schools, you know, you'd meet the other service guys, and you'd get together after you get done doing your thing, and you'd break bread and have a beer, and it was all friendly. So it's just such a cool industry.
No, it really is. I mean, like, for real. In a great example of that, or a great pulse or view of that, is when you go to GIE. You know, a lot of guys go to GIE, and we're all, you know, like you said, everybody's trying to sell mowers, equipment, trucks, trailers, racks, you know, headphones, lawn care shoes. I mean, we're all selling, and we're all trying to build relationships and build businesses. But, you know, at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, you know, everybody's going to the Brazilian steakhouse, the Eddie Merlot's, the barbecue pits, you know, and we're all just kind of cutting up and hanging out. All the CEOs of all the companies, they are all hanging out at certain, you know, chalets and after parties, right? And it's just really cool to see how big of an industry it is. Like you said, you know, somebody quoted like $150 billion green industry. I don't know if that's, you know, in the galaxy, but I was like, that's impressive. And it's crazy too, because like the bigger you think that it is, and it is, but it's also super small because, you know, like you said, I went to school with that guy, or I knew that guy back at so-and-so company. And I get to hear a lot of these kind of conversations, which is really, really fun. So the Exmark Lazer Z changed the game. And then in the, maybe 2009, 2008 or something like that, the next gen Lazer Z, is that what they call it? Or
Yeah. That's kind of what we referred to it at the time, was the next Lazer Z, or next gen. Yeah.
Okay. So and that's when I got on the map. So that's just a great transition for the story, because the Exmark Lazer Z back then was like the cat's meow, and I have my dealer Weingarts up here. I know you guys know Weingarts. And so it was one of those things where they had just changed over to these new lawnmowers for the new Lazer Zs. And so my business, Lenny, I got started in 2005 with an Exmark Viking 48-inch hydro walk behind. And I love that thing. I mean, like, $5,000, dude, 53 out the door. I think after about 2 months, I put a sulky on that thing. Man, I probably put 1,000 hours on that thing in just 3 years. Like, I was just slaying it. Like, I love that walk behind unit. And so my business was growing, and I've told my whole story like on other podcasts. But after about 3 or so years in the business, I had maybe 40, 50 accounts, and I was like 24, 25, I don't know, years old. And I was like, man, one day I'll get that Exmark Lazer Z. I mean, dude, you talked to me about buying an Exmark Lazer Z back then. That's like me saying I'm going to get that Lambo Huracan. I mean, it's that magnanimous of a thought where I'm like, dude, it'll never happen, because that was like the Lambo. That was like the Rolls Royce. And I know some of you guys listening to this, two camps. One, you're like, this is kind of dorky. Or the other camp is like, dude, I remember those days too. Like I'm literally grinning on my face talking about this, because to get an Exmark Lazer Z, like I have a personal life coach. He's a friend of mine, and he's been with me for 15 years and vice versa. And I told him, I'm like, I got to buy this mower. It's $9,600. And he goes, do you think you can do it? I go, I know so. And like, he goes, well, dude, go get it, man. And so I remember signing on the dotted line for this Exmark Lazer Z. It was an S series. It had the what do they call it? Like the integrated hydro pumps. It was like the new thing.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, I upgraded, man, on those front caster wheels to the airless, like the semi-pneumatics, and it was like the 25 horsepower. I think I had a Cowie back in the day, and or maybe it was a 27 horsepower. Like it was. Dude, I made it. Like, I mean, some of you guys think I'm a dork right now, but if you imagine like the Birdman, like Lil Wayne, I Made It song going on in the background, okay? like I was walking out the front door of Weingarts with like the Birdman music playing in the background, and I'm like, I am ready to go tackle the world. And then, the next day it probably rained and I probably got the mower stuck, right? So, because that's how it all works. So, well, let's do this. I want to talk about that whole story. I want to talk about the next gen Lazer Z. We've got a couple other product lines that we're going to hit, including that really popular 30-inch and 21-inch push mowers, and then the Tractus tires, which is a huge upgrade and addition for you guys in 2020. So let's do this. Let's shake it up. I'm going to get a sip of water here. Let's hear again from one of the show sponsors, which is Ballard Inc., and we'll jump right back into it.
Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on Ballard-Inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much to Ballard Inc. for sponsoring this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. Guys, by the way, Brian's 10 saves 10% on all orders there. And if you guys haven't went over to the website of ballardinc.com and just snooped around, guys, there's like 200 products there that are literally designed to make your life and your business that much more efficient, that much better. The Catch Pro bagger, the advanced chute, some of the racks, the gloves, the masks, just anything you guys need to help you guys grow your business. You can check that all out at ballardinc.com. So again, thank you to Ballard Inc. for sponsoring this episode of the podcast, and we really appreciate you guys supporting us as well with that Brian's 10 code. So all right, so Lenny, you just heard my dorky conversation or story of buying that Exmark Lazer Z, that next gen Lazer Z. This was probably like you said, 2009, 2010 maybe, and that thing was a tank. I mean, that changed my business for sure. What was the evolution from the previous Lazer to the new Lazer? You said there was some of the less grease fittings and routine maintenance. What was it? Different engines or different engineering, or what's the new next gen Lazer Z all about?
Yeah, it was a monster undertaking, and honestly, I'm certain in the beginning there were a lot of people that were like, including our dealers and distributors and end users, they were saying, dude, don't
mess
this
with
thing
it.
is, don't mess with it,
Sure.
So, what really kind of kicked it off, number one, the machine was just, it was a little long in the tooth, right? It was time, some new technology had come out and stuff like that. But probably one of the bigger drivers of it, the two biggest drivers of it were, technology with the hydraulics. So, as that Lazer, came across, that first one in 95, if I remember right, it did 8 mile an hour. Right.
Okay.
And so, you had 10 cc pumps and, these Parker wheel motors. Well, everybody's like, wow, this is so much more efficient, so much more productive. But then, that only lasts for a little while. Now, well, we need more productivity, and so, you speed the machine up a little bit. And then because you speed the machine up a little bit, you got to add some more frame to it so it handles that. Mm-hmm. And so the machine gets heavier. And really, so that's, I was in service, and that was our number one call. Our number one call was hydraulics,
Okay.
Either, you'd blow out the head seal or something like that. And we partnered with Parker and we came out with that. You mentioned it earlier, that UHT, the unitized hydro transmission.
Yes.
And
yeah,
it was like night and day, the phone calls that we got. I mean, it went from, hydraulics were the number one call that we got to, it wasn't even probably in the top 10 anymore.
Okay.
So that drove it. And then the other thing was, we wanted to get lower center of gravity. And it married well with, at that time, engine manufacturers were kind of shifting their focus from horizontal shaft engines to vertical shaft engines.
Okay.
So that's, when you look at the machines, that's the biggest difference, right? There's really not other nuts and bolts. There's nothing that's the same, across those two generations. But, going from a horizontal shaft engine to a vertical shaft engine, that allowed us to pull that center of gravity down and give us a lot better hillside stability. We're able to put the gas tank under the seat. So now we're using that fuel weight instead of it being a hindrance for us up above the tire,
Okay.
It was so many of those things. And like I said, reducing the service and maintenance, going from, I think at the time it was 11 grease zerks. And, we'd sit there and we'd go to service schools and we'd tell guys, hey, look, it's not enough to just grease that idler pivot, because when that idler pivot's under load, it's tight on one side. So you throw grease in there. Well, unfortunately, that grease doesn't get to where all the work's happening. You got to remove the belt, grease it under no load, occasionally or whatever. And so being able to get rid of all of that, another one was like, the old Lazer had these, they were like I'll call them a T-handle deck strut. And, from that deck bouncing around side to side, they'd get mushroomed up and your deck would get sloppy left to right.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
You get on a side hill and that deck would slide down a little bit. Well, then it helped cause that stair step cut in a side hill.
Okay.
So now we've got, like, we call them, they're these deck strut rods. They've got rubber bushings, panhard rod, like, you guys that are into racing and stuff.
Yeah.
You know all about that. And it's amazing. You go out now and you see those old, like you said, O2 and older Lazers, they're out there still running, but there's a lot of movement and a lot of stuff going on with those, but they're still working. You look at, one of these newer ones and you go out there and everything's just tight.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, the engineers, you got to be careful how much credit you give them, but they knocked this thing out of the park. And some of it was, like I said, we did such a great job of listening, and we were talking, before that, about our service team. I think, if I remember right, they take somewhere around 60 to 70,000 phone calls a month.
Wow.
Or is it a week? A month, I think.
Wow.
And it's just, so, you were talking about how you gather information from social media. Absolutely. But we also, our service department being so open. I mean, anybody on this podcast, you look on the back of your Lazer manual or your Viking manual, and there's a number. When you call that number, you get one of those dudes or gals down there. And, when I worked in the service department, I was on the bottom half of tenure of people that in there. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's five people down there that have more than 25 years here at Exmark.
Wow.
And there's so much knowledge down there, and they just do an outstanding job. So, they're great people.
No,
I can't talk enough about them.
For sure. And I remember you saying you wanted to make sure that you plug those guys because you really respect what they did and do. And like you said, you were in that role for a handful of years as well. And really just come to respect and appreciate what they do and go through and have to, report back. And, and that's the thing too with that Exmark Lazer Z, we're not just trying to plug the Lazer Z. It's just a really good lawnmower. I mean, honestly, I'm on I got the Lazer Z S, and then I had a Lazer Z X. I'm on my second Lazer Z X. We're an owner operator. We do about 100 properties a week, and some are smaller, some are bigger. But we still log about, I'd say about 600 hours a year. That's not bad for 6 months in Michigan. And so we put our mowers through the ringer. Now, we're not in Florida, running 1,000 to 1,500 hours a year or whatever those guys do. But if you're logging 600 hours up here in the Midwest per year, I'd say you're going at a pretty stout pace, And so I just have come to appreciate I'm not super mechanically inclined, but if something's broken, I can usually reverse engineer it. You know what I mean, Lenny?
Yeah.
And be like, all right, well, this, and this isn't right. Somebody get the electrical tape, the super glue, or a paper clip, and a little bit of belly button lint. We'll rock and roll with this thing. You know what I'm saying? So, there's been so many times where I'm repairing things out in the field. And I'm like, well, that'll hold off. And I just need another hour to finish out the day, and I can go throw it on Weingart's plate, and they come up there, and I rip my trailer down, and it's like the alarms come out like the Minions, and they're all like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm like, I don't know what it's doing, man. Take care of it. But no, I'm just having fun. But here's the thing. I've had so few issues. I had some clutch issues once, a pulley issue once, and a seat switch issue once. But in all honesty, of the 5,000 hours I've probably logged on my Lazer, I've had maybe total time down maybe a month. I mean, 3 days here, 1 day here, 2 days here, you know what I mean? And so over a 11 year career running Exmark Lazers, that's not bad. That's a true testament to some quality engineering, And so it's just this is such a trip down memory lane for me. I know these mowers really well. I don't know them at an engineering spec level, but I know all the different, all the bushings and the rods and the wheel pump motors and all this mess, because that was what was sold to me back in the day from my salespeople. They're like, man, have you seen these new wheel pump motors? I'm like, no, show me about them. We'd open up the seat and we'd get a flashlight out. I was 22. I was 23. I was a nerd. I was very green. I was very just naive and fun. And this was my cool thing. I wasn't into hot rod cars. I am now. I'm in the Lambos, but that's a whole other story for a whole other time. So anyway, let's just keep this going. So the other two things I wanted to talk about for a few minutes was the Exmark 30 and then the Tractus tires. So let's talk about Tractus, because that is a new thing for 2020. We saw those debuted at GIE last fall. If you want to talk about those for a few minutes, what are they? What are they designed for? Maybe why did you guys even come up with this engineering idea for Tractus? What was wrong with the original tires, or were you just getting a lot of feedback again that people wanted an airless option, or?
Yeah, kind of where it had started is we had started talking with a company about doing something like this, and they ended up pulling back. They said, we don't think it's going to work. And then we had another company that came to us and said, hey, we've got this thing. And, we went out and, we put them in front of customers. We did kind of our own analysis of them. And we went back to them and we said, hey, these are awesome. They're like 80% of the way there.
Okay.
Fix this and that. And hey, we're 1,000% on board. And, they felt they had it right. And we're like, we can't do it that way. And so, we parted. And so then we started working with this manufacturer, and we said, hey, look, here's the things that we know we got to have. It's got to have, we can't sacrifice traction. We can't, sacrifice ride quality. It's got to be consistent and those type of things.
Okay.
And so that's what we did. And we went and said, hey, look, came up with a tread pattern that cleans out really well, gives great traction. And so we built from there. And this company had actually, they had worked with the military on building this style of tire for Humvees.
Yeah, that's what I thought the technology derived from,
Yeah, and then it moved over to UTVs, which I don't know. I'll probably get in trouble for plugging a different brand or whatever. But if you want to check out a really cool video and get an idea of just how bad these Tractus tires are, is Google on YouTube. I think it's something like Polaris with 4 destroyed tires or something like that.
Okay.
And they've got this UTV and literally cut sections out of this thing, and then they drilled like 6-inch screws all the way through it. And here this guy is, he goes out there and he's on that UTV and he takes off. Now it's wobbly and wonky because sections of it are actually cut out, but he's out there going 30 mile an hour. Then like right off the bat, they have another video that I forget what kind of a truck it is. It's a little truck thing that they've got him on. And this guy's out doing donuts, going 40, 50 mile an hour with these tires in the same condition.
Wow.
And you're just like, holy smoke.
That's awesome. I was going to say, my wife and I, we watch this is a TV show series. Like I watch very little TV, but there was a TV show series called Westworld, and my wife and I, like my brother recommended it to me. It was okay for a season or two, but they had these like Can-Am, I'm totally going down a rabbit hole right now, but there's these like Can-Am, like you said, UTVs, and they had some type of, the airless, like, Tweel type Tractus-esque wheels. And I was like, babe, those are pretty BA. I'm like, those are the ones that I'm getting on my Lazer. Like, those are in the garage. She's like, but there's no air in them. I'm like, I know, but like, and so they were like clearly marketing this Can-Am, in the Westworld, show. But I was like, dude, I bet you those are like $5,000 option because our Tweels are, a couple bucks. But dude, they're freaking sweet. I mean, like, they're $1,200, but I'll tell you, Lenny, I've had a utility flag, like the utility marker flag. I've had one plug into the tread. I've had a screw already plug into the tread. There's a 75% chance that we could have plugged both, but it wouldn't have mattered that I still would have lost 2 to 3 hours of downtime at, running my business at $100 plus an hour rates. So it would have honestly cost me time and money and my employees sitting around. And frankly, if I would have got a puncture on the sidewall, sometimes you can plug it, but I'm sure that the it's a critical, repair and the tire's gone. It's garbage. That's kind of how it is on car tires. Well, I didn't have to worry about that because the Tractus not having any air. So if you guys haven't seen these Tractus, go Google them, go to Exmark's website, type in Tractus, Tractus, and imagine like a honeycomb wheel inside, no air, and then just a solid wheel outside of rubber. What would you call it, Lenny? Like a rubber padded wheel on the outside, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's just, oh man, the guys are going to kill me because I can't remember the name, but just that it's the outside tread band that's supported by these plastic-ish material, if you will, of honeycomb that's then supported by a cast aluminum wheel.
Yeah.
In the center.
Those are awesome. I like them, man. I think they're pretty sharp. Go ahead.
I'm so glad to hear you say, hey, look, it's great to talk to guys that get what a flat tire actually costs. Because, I'll talk to guys and they'll be like, a flat tire cost me $2. A plug is $2. I'm like, oh, you're not getting it. Every minute you're not mowing. And that's it. This whole thing fits so well with what we like to do. Reduce downtime, reduce service and maintenance. And even more off of that, it's not just that. We are pretty certain, and I'd say it's going to be towards the higher side. These will have 3 to 5 times longevity over a pneumatic tire in similar conditions.
See, that's what I'm wondering. That's what my biggest question is: how long are they going to last? Because if they're going to last 3 to 4 times as long, then it's kind of like a break even, not even counting downtime. Yeah,
we've got a cat up here in Lincoln, Nebraska, that he's seen him, because what happened is we showed him at GIE. This has been like 3 years ago or whatever. And we didn't have it quite right. So we pulled it back and we started working on it. And he's like, I've got to have these. And so one of the other guys here, we sent him a set, and he's probably got like 2.5 years on the set now. But I went up, it was sometime last year, and he had, if I remember right, he had like 1,200 hours on his machines, and he's got 360s that he runs with his crew. So they all kind of mow the exact same stuff. He'd gone through, he was on his 3rd set of tires, and I think he had, like I said, about 1,200 hours on it. And we measured the tread depth on that Tractus, and he still had about, I think it was just a hair over, it was a hair over 50% of the tread left.
Wow.
On that Tractus tire.
Really?
So
that's really cool. Wow.
And then the one thing, and I hadn't really thought about it too much until he started talking. He's like, Lenny, the coolest thing about this is I don't have to check tire pressure.
Yes.
I'm never sitting there driving along and all of a sudden I look and I've got, a jacked up cut because I got a slow leaker tire.
I've had that so many times. So it's so bizarre that you just brought that up because a week ago I was running my mower and I forget where I was, but I was like pulling up to my trailer and I said, oh, my guy Rob, one of my employees, he's got another like 2 minutes to blow something off. I've got the little Milwaukee, spare, little tire inflator on the little M12 system. Definitely my favorite product over the last 2 years. Like, what's your favorite tool? The trailer, the truck, your plow, the tire, No, dude, my Milwaukee tire inflator. And it's been like the tool, $69 for the tool only. Great price point. And so I take that tire inflator and every day I would check my tires on my trailer, my truck, and my Lazer. I check the mower about, once a week. But literally a week ago, I was pulling up to my trailer. My guy had a few more minutes of blowing or edging, whatever he was doing. And I said, hey, it's been a week, because usually once a week I would check the tire pressure on my Lazer Z to make sure it's at 14 or 16 PSI, whatever I was running at, and whatever the the depth of the tire tread was. So usually I was running mine at like 16 PSI. I don't know if that's right, Lenny. Is that kind of where we're at on the tires, by the way, the pneumatic ones?
Yeah, anywhere around that 13 to 16.
Okay.
You start to get below 12, especially, then you get on a side hill and it'll start to roll over on the tire.
Yeah.
And that messes up the cut.
Okay.
And then you get above 16 and it gets bouncy in a hurry.
Yeah, I was it's a little rigid, you know what I mean? So, well, yeah. and that's the thing. Like I pulled up to my trailer, I did the whole thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, dummy. Like you're riding tires that don't have air in them. And I like, it was so ingrained to my regular habit to go into the truck, go under the seat, get the thing, and make sure everything's pumped up on the mower, and both sides are pretty equal. And I was just like, wow, I didn't have to worry about two flats this week. I didn't have to worry about running up to my local discount tire and, getting in line. And because actually one of my properties is a discount tire, so if I ever have an issue, they know, they take care of me. Like I'm in and out, which is really convenient. Like everybody, every lawn care guy should have a tire store as one of their commercial clients. You know what I'm saying, Lenny? And so I walk up in there, we get that all taken care of, within a half hour, but the downtime and all this other mess. And so, what is the tread? Is it like a different composite? Is it not like a regular rubber tire, and so it's like a plastic. Somebody was asking me that on DM on Instagram. I didn't know what to say to them. So is it like a different compound or?
It is a slightly different compound, but what makes it, what gives it that longevity, and then, man, what I've been getting, seeing on social media, and I've got a couple of guys that call me and stuff, they're just blown away by the traction. And
100%.
what it really, it's, so now instead, with a pneumatic tire, there's some roundness to the tire. This thing, it's 12 inches flat across it. So you've got, and I don't remember what the exact percentage is, but you've got a monster percentage greater contact patch with the ground than you do over a pneumatic tire.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. If you guys ever look at like a car and you look at your hand, like your handprint, your whole car is literally sitting on 4 handprints. Like that's how that's how tires are basically like designed. Like you have 4 handprints on the road. Well, my Tractus tire, I mean, there's a good 10 inches wide and 10 inches from the side view that is all flat on the thing, because it's not a perfectly round wheel, because the honeycomb like kind of compresses when it's on the ground, and so it's got this like huge foot by foot pattern that's touching the ground. And when you're on a hill, like I've had no issues with bouncing, no issues with sliding. So one guy was asking me, he goes, "Oh yeah, you get sent all this cool stuff," and he was like, "Good for you." But he goes, "But tell me, this is what everybody says, Lenny. This is what they always ask me behind the scenes. Shoot me straight, man. Would you buy them?" And and I told him, I said, if I was buying a new Lazer Z, with my business size and my business's cash flow, yes, I buy a new Lazer Z with the Tractus tires. If I was just buying my first, Exmark Radius or my first Lazer Z, probably not, because they are an investment. However, if I was already going to buy a 15, 16 grand mower, I'd be like, dude, just slap them on there. Because at my level, and most guys listening to this, like potentially have some really good cash flow starting to come in, an extra $1,200. My whole number one rule of my business is productivity, production. I gotta produce as an owner operator. I cannot have downtime. And so if I can invest in these Tractus tires for $1,200 and keep my business moving, like that is literally pure money in the bank. And it even makes me more excited to hear that you're seeing some of these guys get even more tread life out of it than a couple tires, which is really, really impressive. So I like that, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so by the way, I'm not trying to pitch you guys on the Tractus tires. If you pick them up, great. We don't have a Brian's 10, so sorry guys. But maybe one day we'll get a promo code with Exmark and Ford, and we can all buy Tractus tires with Raptors with Tractus tires. Lenny. So let's do this. The last thing we want to talk about was the Kohler 30. So is this another one of the product lines that you get to manage, or how does that all work?
Yeah, right now I do. I have so along with the Lazer and the diesel Lazer, and the 2 96-inch lasers and stuff like that. So I run the gamut. I've got the biggest and the smallest machines. So,
yeah.
I've also got the commercial 21 and the commercial 30.
Okay.
And that the commercial 30 we actually underestimated the popularity of that new, we call it the X series, with the Kohler and the bigger transmission on it.
Yes. Yes.
There's still a lot of guys, where that Kawasaki FJ 180, which is an absolute staple, right, in this industry. Mm-hmm. And the lighter transmission, they're mowing level properties, and it's working for them. But you had guys, you get guys in Tennessee and the hills of Alabama and the Carolinas and everywhere, that the transmission just wasn't cutting it. Mm. So we had the opportunity to work with that transmission vendor, and they came up with this new transmission that, I honestly think, I haven't tried it, but I think I could probably stand on the machine and have somebody park it up against a wall, have somebody grab that transmission, and it'd probably spin the tires.
Oh, wow.
Wow. It is that aggressive. So, so now we're able to get that. You've got guys that, whether it's for trimming or they just have small condo areas and stuff like that where they can't get even a Viking 32 on very easily because of the length of the machine and stuff like that. I guess we don't build the 32 anymore, 36, but
sure.
It's been a great machine, and as good as the FJ 180 is, Kohler, I gotta believe they sat there and they look and they listen to, hey, everybody loves the FJ 180, but what don't you love about it? They've got a great air filter system. They've got an oil drain. We put an oil drain hose on this thing. They did a bunch of stuff that really went after where some guys had some pain points.
Okay.
So it's been it's certainly early with this product yet, but it's been a great product so far, and guys are loving it.
I see a lot of guys on Instagram that are always posting about it because a lot of guys have gated backyards or and they got a push mow, and maybe they don't want to drop $6, $7, $8 on a Staris 36-inch stander or another stander unit, different brand. But for a couple grand you can get that push mower. And not only that, but like a lot of commercial sites just have like ledges or, like you said, retaining walls. You might need like two guys to kind of like hoist it up to do all these like awkward museums or like universities. I've seen like the craziest landscape. I'm like, why would they put grass there? Like that literally makes no sense. But a lot of guys, they really love the it's a smaller, more compact unit that they can, throw on the trailer. It doesn't take up a big footprint, but super productive, like you were saying earlier. So yeah, that's it. I think it's a really, again, well-received unit. It's been a staple. How long has the 30-inch unit been around for? A decade, maybe?
When did we? Well, you got me.
Oh, trivia. Here we go.
Yeah. I think, if I remember right, would it be 13 or 14 maybe?
Okay.
That we came out with it. I think somewhere in that area.
Yeah. I mean, it's been. I know so many guys that use it. Julio with Lawn Care Business Success. He does a lot of. I don't want to say like testing for you guys, but he has the one with the alloy deck, if I'm not mistaken. And he swears by it. I'm like, dude, get a stander, get a zero turn. He goes, you don't get the Pacific Northwest, Brian. And he goes, for any of you guys listening, we have a friend, Julio with Lawn Care Business Success podcast, and he's up in the Pacific Northwest, and they get rain, and soggy conditions, and the grass is always wet. And he does a lot of bagging. And he said that mower has just been amazing for him. And so, I don't do a lot of push mowing. I don't do a lot of gated backyards anymore, just to be honest. It was easier for me to just get new customers and ones that had wide open properties and use my Lazer. But I'm also cognizant that, a lot of you guys listening have gated backyards and are in urban environments and, pool, backyards. And so it makes a lot of sense to have that commercial 30 as a staple unit on your trailer setup. So I love it. Well, Lenny, I mean, I super appreciate you jumping on the show, man. I mean, we're almost at an hour here, which is crazy. I always tell my guests, like, it goes quick. You know what I mean? It kind of, when we start talking about lawnmowers and equipment, like, I don't know why. We nerd out about this stuff. I still I'm having a thoroughly good time talking about this stuff. Even being in the industry for 14 years, Lenny, you've been doing it for 23 plus years now. You were saying, and we just really enjoy having these conversations. So, hey, I always kind of do this with guests, and usually for interviews, we have guys that, have shared their startup story or, just some words of wisdom, but just open mic, anything that you wanted to, drive home while we got you on the show, that you wanted to leave with the audience for a last quick minute.
Yeah. And I said I was going to plug them, and I got them in there a little bit, but again, if I just encourage you guys, if you are, if you've got problems or you've got questions about your Exmark equipment, certainly your dealer is always there. But if you want, we love to hear from you guys. Reach out to us via social media, or like I said, that number's on the back of the book. Give us a call. And so along with that, I'll give a shout out because we were talking about the 30 to a good buddy of mine in service, and I know you mentioned Stanley. He did a video with him not long ago, but Fred Fugit. So
was that the deck leveling one? Was that the deck level?
Yeah.
One? Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I saw it. Yep.
So I'm telling you guys, and I'm not trying to put anybody else down or anything, but there is nobody in the industry that I know of that knows quality of cut and how to get things to work than Fred does. And so, we were talking earlier about the crazy rain that we've just been getting recently, and I had a 30 at home. And I remember I was sitting there, and it was actually the FJ 180. It was the lower horsepower unit. And I was in my backyard, and I've got, tall fescue. And dude, I'm sitting there mowing, and she's like, blah. And you know how when you get the deck packed up and it's grinding in there?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm moving like 1 mile an hour, and it's looking like crud. And so I called Fred. I go, this thing, man, I can't believe we sell this. And Fred's like, dude, put some rake into it. And so rake, is the tilt of the deck. So I was like, oh, yeah, I do. I have it flat. And I'm telling you guys, I was mulching, and I was taking, I'll bet I got into it, it'd been gone. I'll bet I was taking 3+ inches off.
Okay.
And what I ended up doing is I had 3/4. So I had the front set at like 3 inches, or 3 or 3.5, and I had the back set at then either 3 1/4 or 3 3/4 or 4 1/4, whatever, 4.5 or whatever. And it was night and day difference. I went from where I couldn't hardly get this thing to mow through, that I was full speed up and back in my yard, and it looked, there was some, I'll call it was a little fuzzy, if you will, but it was amazing. So, that's one of the things I hear about that 30. Well, you need 12 horsepower or something like that on it. And certainly, if we could put it on there and not make the thing weigh 500 pounds,
sure.
We do that. But that's, when you get into those, I guess the moral of the story, you get into those situations where you're struggling or whatever, man, don't just continue to beat yourself, and give your dealer a call. And if nothing else, they'll call Fred, if you will, or, whatever. And we're here to help. We want you guys to be successful, because in the end, it benefits us, right? And we're here to do anything we can for you guys.
That's so cool, man. Well, I that's really, really fun. We got to do like I remember back in school, we did like the popcorn. You got to pick the next person to read out of the next chapter of the book. We'll have to ask you who we're going to popcorn to have from Exmark on the next podcast. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that way, when they get the tap on the shoulder, like, all right, you're up, and they're like, I don't want to do it. I'm just having fun. Some people like jumping on the podcast. Some people are more like just quiet, more like the engineering type. But hey, if you're an engineer, I mean, you're talking to yourself on the phone or talking to one other person, so it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate having you on the podcast. I mean, this has been just fun to talk about a couple product lines that you get access to. So much more that for real we could talk about, but we're already at an hour, and I'm already taking more of your evening than I promised that I would, and so I want to be respectful of your time. But hey, if people want to find out more information about Exmark, where can they go? Like you said, you talked about the service number on the back of the Lazer. Where else can people find more information about Exmark if they need to?
Well, yeah, I mean, the best places, obviously our website, exmark.com, visit us on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Twitter, hit us up via any of that, or, like I said, give us a buzz on the phone. Be mindful, right now, this is the time. Those guys are slammed. Leave a message. I promise, though, if they can't get you right away, leave a message. They'll give you a call back.
Cool.
Certainly use every resource you can. Like we were saying, like what we do. We use every resource we can to try to make this product better. Use every resource you can get to make yourself better and make the equipment work for you better. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool deal. All right. Well, hey, by the way, one other place, if you guys want to check out Exmark, is at GIE Expo. And so, we'll leave it in the show notes if you guys want to get your ticket for GIE. You can always do that. But, Exmark's got a huge booth inside, a huge booth outdoors. I think it was 2 years ago, Lenny, my wife jumped on the 96-inch diesel, and the whole quarter acre outdoor demo booth, it completely cleared out when she jumped on there. It was the funniest thing. You got this, she's 5'5", 100, don't quote weight, right? She's like a little petite girl, long flowing blonde hair. I'm going to get in trouble. Long flowing blonde hair. And she just jumped on this thing and she's like, I'm doing this thing. And so she was just going up and down. I'm telling you, bro, like 40 other contractors checking out the booth. They were all sidelined. Nobody was going out there. They're like, who's this crazy blonde lady driving the biggest, most bodacious lawnmower out there, just making 0 turns? And I'm like, Liz, we literally are trying to partner with these people. Like, get off the lawnmower. like I'm just waiting for some of the brass to walk by and they go, this is the guy we're partnering with, Mr. Social Media Guru. And so anyway, I've got so many funny stories like that. Our life is, just 2 crazy blondes taking over the world, right? So, all right. Well, hey, Lenny, sincerely, thanks so much for taking your time out of your evening to jump on the podcast. I really appreciate the stories you got to share and just all the support from Exmark. And so, maybe we'll have to get you again on the podcast again in the future, maybe sometime towards the fall, and we can go down some of the other product lines. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, brother. And hey, it was my pleasure. I'm telling you, you talked about how fast. The only reason I know how long it took is because literally my cheeks are hurting because I've been smiling this whole time, dude. And so it's been good. I love doing this, and anytime, whether it's me or, like you said, we got a bunch of great dudes here and gals. We can get one of them on here and share different stories. So that'd be awesome.
I love it, man. Well, we can't wait to hear back from you. Maybe we'll catch up with you again this fall once that stand-on Exmark leaf blower comes out, and we'll just take it from there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to extract information. I'm like, give me my stand-on blower. I know it's coming. I can neither confirm or deny. What about you, Lenny? Confirm or deny?
I can't. Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. What is that?
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, well, we're gonna cut it off here before we both get into trouble. Because I literally know nothing. I'm just like having fun here, guys. I know nothing. Okay, so don't shoot me DMs going, hey, what do you know? I know nothing. Okay, so all right, well, hey guys, we super appreciate you listening in. If you guys haven't, by now left a 5-star rating and review on the podcast, I don't know what you're waiting for. It super helps the podcast get surfaced and just some social proofing. So guys, thank you so much for listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered, and we can't wait to catch up with you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.